You guys asked for it. Here it is, the post-2000s most iconic, groundbreaking, trendsetter fragrances of all time. Let's do it. Welcome back to another video. Max here. If you guys love to make a great first impression, smelling good is a first step to doing that. And if you guys love to smell great, this video will help you do that. If you guys missed out the pre-2000 video, which is also a top 20, it's going to be up here so you guys can check that video out. For those of you that did check that video out and left me likes, I truly appreciate it. This is the fact why I'm doing this for you guys. Top 20 post-2000s. Of course, this is going to be all fragrances in the designer side of things from January 1, 2000 all the way until December 31st, 2009. If you guys want to see the 2010s, leave it in the like. If you want to see niche, top of all time, leave it in a like as well. I'll come back with those videos for you guys. But without any further ado, guys, let's hop into this because we got a lot of ground to cover. Get comfortable. Let's do this. Quick addendum, quick caveat here before I get into the choices because you guys been talking about it, commenting, messaging me, how about this and how about that fragrance. So real quickly here, in that pre-2000s, I wanted to make sure all fragrances were still available today, even if in their, reformulated form. But some of you guys were like, oh, but you have to talk about this or you have to talk about that one. So this list has been really well curated. I'm going to talk about even discontinued gems, but these were the absolute best of what the world of designer releases were in the 2000s. Like I said, from January 1st, 2000 all the way until the end of 2009. So let's go. And of course, guys, these are my top 20. If you guys have yours or anything else that you want to let me know and share with me that I missed, leave it in the comments. We're going to kick off the list here with this one from Cartier, which I always raved about this brand. They do incredible fragrances for affordable prices. And for a designer brand, they actually, stay away from more of the same. This is Must de Cartier. There is a women release back in 1981. This is a 2000 release. Absolutely stunning juice. What I love about this fragrance, guys, it's not a barbershop, just right off the bat. For a 2000 release, this was really groundbreaking. And not many people talked about this. But what I love this is a vetiver-based scent, but it has an amazing sandalwood here with some cinnamon, some spices, some resins. It's a resinous, spicy, and creamy vetiver fragrance. Very unique for the time. When everybody was releasing your run-of-the-mill aquatic fragrances, Cartier was doing something very different and unique. If you love vetiver fragrances, this is one that I highly recommend you guys search for. It is discontinued, unfortunately, but it's still kicking around. And for a fragrance that people don't talk much about, you can actually find it for a decent price. Passing forward to 2002, now I'm going to give you guys a fragrance that, in my opinion, if I have to do a top 10 masterpieces of all time in the designer side of things, this would make the list. It was ahead of its time. And as you'll see here in this list, I think this gentleman single-handedly shaped the 2000s. And it's Mr. Tom Ford. Whether as a creative director or an owner of a brand, this guy really shook things up. And this release here, just absolutely a stunner, a groundbreaking scent. M7, the 7th masculine release from Yves Saint Laurent at the time. Tom Ford was the creative director, and M7 was an oud-based scent. In this hemisphere, in this side of the world, it was unheard of at that time, at that point. And my God, this is an incredible fragrance. If you find it in its original form, the brown bottle, you're gonna have citruses up top, which will quickly go away, making way for amber and the delicious oud that this thing has with vetiver. It is just, like I said, a stunner, a masterpiece. There's no two ways about it, guys. Very expensive these days to find. I think it's completely gone at this point. There was a line of Tom Ford, a signature line, which I'll pop it here on the screen, which was a reinterpretation of this fragrance, which was really a shadow of this particular one here with the brown bottle. I don't care if you're gonna pay $300 or $400. This is well worth it. There's nothing like M7. If you guys know, when you know, you know. Mr. Ford, Tom Ford as it were, he was the creative director of this particular line here from Gucci. This is Gucci Pour Homme 1. Again, when you know, you know. This was a groundbreaking trendsetter fragrance, a fragrance that really made people scratch their heads when they smell this for the first time, including yours truly. This is a very resinous vetiver with incense. It's spicy, it's resin, it's a little bit dark, but it's still wearable enough. It's still a fragrance that will turn heads. And this is very expensive these days. And there are fragrances out there that will resemble this fragrance. It's mostly a resinous fragrance, which you're gonna get here with a very nice, wet, grassy vetiver dried down. Really stunning fragrance. From 2003, from Gucci, when Gucci was doing things right. Unfortunately, long gone, as well as Gucci Pour Homme 2, which is an incredible tea-based scent. They had amazing fragrances. I mean, Gucci Envy was a great one. So over the years, Gucci always had really good fragrances. But the Guilty line is not something that I'm really, fond of. But if you can find this for a decent price, guys, pick up, pull the trigger, you're not going to disappoint. We jump up a year, we go to this particular release here, which was really a groundbreaking scent back in the day. I remember everybody was raving this fragrance, going out, romantic settings. Everyone was rocking this fragrance, guys. 2004 Armani Code. Now, this particular fragrance is one of the most copied, well, at least for a while, was one of the most copied scent profiles out there. And I'm going to actually do a video for you guys talking about the most copied scent profiles. And this one here is going to be one of those, probably on that list, depending on how many I'm going to talk about. So Armani Code has a very particular leathery tobacco dry down. It has some spices here, and it has a very captivating sandalwood here that's very creamy, it's very spicy, very sensual, very romantic. To this day, this is a head turner. It's a fragrance that if you wear it, people are going to ask you, what are you wearing? You smell so good. It doesn't matter. It has that timeless, classy feel, very gentlemanly like. And I'm sure if you have tried this at some point, if somebody in your family wore this, you know how good this fragrance is. Armani Code, another one from 2004 that's just amazing. And what's available today, this is an older bottle. It's, again, most of these fragrances, if they have been reformulated or discontinued, it's going to be hard to find. And if it's in its available form now, reformulated, you're probably going to have a little bit of a hard time, loving as much if you have tried the older, the vintage formulation. However, if you haven't tried the vintage, most likely you're going to like it just fine. Great stuff right here. Everybody that has been in the fragrance world, whether for 10 years, 5 years, or if you love fragrances all your life, you heard of this fragrance somewhere along the line. We're talking about Dior Homme from 2005, groundbreaking, trendsetter, classy. And I remember when I first smelled this fragrance, everyone, I thought this was a feminine scent because how prevalent this note of iris was here. This creamy, buttery, just captivating iris. I was like, wow, this is like a women's fragrance. But when I wore this on skin, it really opened up my... And this is another thing today you guys have to keep in mind. If you started in the fragrance journey now and you pick up a fragrance like this right off the bat, most chances are that you're not going to like this at first sniff. Some fragrances are a little hard. You have to wear them a few times, revisit them to really fall in love with this. And that's exactly what happened with me with Dior Homme. I picked up a bottle. I actually got rid of my original bottle, which had the silver stamp. This one here, I believe, is from 2012. Still a great formulation. What's available today is nothing like this unless you find the original, because it has been changed completely. The Dior Homme now is a completely different scent. It's more of a vetiver, woody cedar scent. This is a bomb here for iris. If you love iris, spicy iris, captivating, sensual, seductive, Dior Homme is where it's at. This is a masterpiece. It's one of the, classic modern masterpieces of our time. Definitely worth every single penny if you can find an older vintage bottle. Which, talking about finding vintage bottles or rare gems, there's a place to do that. FragranceBuy.ca, partner of this channel. A lot of these fragrances I found at FragranceBuy.ca, even in its vintage formula. Because if you go to their website, there is 2 tabs up top that I highly recommend you guys check out. New arrivals for new, up and coming and what's hot, releases, or the rare tab, rare gems, because you're going to find sometimes, like I said, vintage original formulation fragrances and a lot of hard to find, rare gems as it were. If you find something that you want to pick up, but unfortunately it's out of stock, that's okay. Leave your email. They'll contact you as soon as it comes back in stock. And it does come back in stock, guys, because I get emails from them on a regular basis. And of course, I do pull the trigger to get my collection where I need it to be with the rare gems, vintage stuff that you guys know I love. So check out FragranceBuy.ca in the comments. If there's any codes, of course, I'll share them with you. Now we go forward to 2006. This is an amazing gem, ladies and gentlemen. This fragrance took, Hermes was always very famous, of course, but Terre de Hermes in 2006 really broke the mode for a great vetiver-based scent that wasn't mainstream, but working in New York, I actually smell this in a lot of people. And it's one of those fragrances that stopped me on my tracks because I'm a big fan of vetiver fragrances, but it took me a little while to warm up to this fragrance because it has a peppery opening, a cedar, woodsy opening with grapefruit, lots of citruses, but then it dries down to this smoky, peppery vetiver, which I love, but back in the day in 2006, I wasn't a fan of. But right around 2010, 11, I really warmed up to this fragrance. I really was wearing this a lot. I think this is my 3rd bottle of this fragrance, Terre de Hermes. It was one of the ones that I really wore a lot in my rotation back in the day. And I still pick it up every now and again. This is a masterpiece. Jean Claude does these really transparent and transportative kind of fragrances, and this is one of those scents. If you love vetiver, if you love spicy scents, this is something that you should definitely consider, at least get to know it if you're not gonna wear it. In your fragrance journey, it's always nice to try these groundbreaking trendsetter fragrances such as Terre. Now, as we move forward here, you're gonna see on this list a ton of releases from 2006. The last one we talked about was from 2006, Terre, and so is this one. This is going to be the fragrance that really gave Yves Saint Laurent a kick. You know, after M7, which was a flop for them, it got discontinued. Nothing really was coming out, you know, masculine side that was really, you know, attention grabbing up until this point. 2006 gave us L'Homme, YSL L'Homme, which was a great apple. When, you know, the opening here is one of those scents that from the get-go, from the first sniff, you're gonna be like, wow, I gotta have this. This is a smell I wanna, you know, on me. And that's exactly what you're gonna get. This really nice, almost Granny Smith green apple, sharp, fruity, citrusy, with this, you know, ginger kind of a feel. So think about the green apple and the ginger together, which will give this very nice, sharp, but also very compliment-getting, very, you know, very grabbing kind of a scent. When you walk into a room and you're smelling like this, people are gonna be like, wow, you smell really good. It's gonna be very pleasant, easy to wear, office friendly, day wear, but you can also rock at nighttime, you know, summertime especially. It's one of those scents, guys. It was groundbreaking for a reason. Ton of brands copy the scent profile, and it's kind of similar. If you like Millésime Impérial from Creed, it's in the same kind of vein, minus the ambergris and the watermelon feel that you get with that, and the salty vibe. There's no salty vibe here, but it's still in the same kind of citrusy, you know, apple, ginger kind of a vibe with the vetiver in the base. Vetiver is a fragrance note that I love, and funny enough, a lot of these fragrances will have vetiver in the base, which I think always gives this classy, elegant, and confident vibe to the scent, just like L'Homme. All right, we're still in 2006, ladies and gentlemen. Now this fragrance, talk about groundbreaking scent. Michael Jackson is one of the fragrances that he wore for nightwear. He loved this fragrance, raved about this fragrance. And I got to know about this fragrance with a gentleman that has left us and it's no longer in the community, Carlos, Brooklyn fragrance lover, God bless his soul. He was the gentleman that introduced me to this fragrance way back when I believe it was 2010. He talked about this fragrance. Up to that point, I think I smelled this once in a general store and it was a little too feminine for my taste. And he said, Max, you gotta try this. Forget about people thinking or saying that it's feminine. You wear it on the skin and you tell me how good this is. And right he was. We're talking about Tom Ford Black Orchid. Now this was Mr. Ford's entry to the fragrance world. When he came up with his brand in 2005, he was coming up with a private blend, which we'll talk about in 2007. But in 2006, this fragrance here really put Tom Ford on the map. This is Black Orchid, ladies and gentlemen, a tremendous fragrance. Forget about great. This is so unique, it's so intrinsic, it's so transportive. It's one of those scents that you smell, you're like, wow, what is this thing? It has truffle, but not chocolate truffle, you know, the truffles, you know, like the mushrooms, the fungi that you find. And you have truffles now, which is a very common, you know, condiment that people use for fries and things like that, for cooking. This was a note that was used in here, which was absolutely groundbreaking at that point. There's some chocolatey vibes here, a very nice wet patchouli. I mean, it's spices, resins. It's a bold and just a powerful scent that's very seductive, very sensual. Amazing. There's just one word to describe this, masterpiece. I mean, so many great adjectives to this fragrance. If you haven't tried this, do try it. If you're a lady, run. If you're a guy, don't, you know, feel that this is just a feminine scent, because it's not. And also, there's vetiver in the base, believe it or not, which as you get to the dry down, it gets a little smokier and more earthy as well. Just incredible stuff. We're gonna stay right here, guys. 2006 was a great year for fragrances. This is a fragrance that has a resinous pine needle kind of a vibe, which I love in my fragrances, but it also has this cinnamon, spicy, and port wine. It has a wine vibe here that was just, when I smelled this, I was like, wow, I need to have this. I didn't buy one bottle, I bought 2 bottles when I tried this for the first time because I was blown away. It has the little, you know, scarf thing around. It's Burberry London for Man. An absolutely stunning scent. I think of Christmas. I wore this for many Christmases. It's so cozy. It'll hug you like a beautiful cashmere sweater, just like it has here around the bottle. It's piney, it's resinous, it's sweet. It's got that port wine that adds this just right amount of booziness to the fragrance. The cinnamon here is grand. It's a stunner. If you want something for the holidays, perfect for fall and winter, this is one that I highly recommend. You can find this readily available for pretty decent pricing. The performance is going to be the problem. There's also lavender here. Now, I feel as though what's available today is maybe half of what this fragrance was. This is an older bottle, but it's still great. It still does the job, especially if you over apply and you apply on your clothes, you're gonna be more than fine. Burberry London from 2006, another great stunning stuff that if you haven't tried, get your nose on it. 2007 is the year. This fragrance really blew my top. When I first smelled this fragrance, and I knew the fragrance that came before it, so I was really excited for this fragrance. And I remember I was blown away. I was like, they did it. This is a perfect flanker as a flanker should be. We're talking about Dior Homme Intense 2007. This is an original formulation with a silver collar. If you guys are in this community for a decade or more, you know how much money this stuff fetches because it's just perfection. We're talking patchouli, amber, iris, cocoa. It is just an amazing fragrance. And what's available today, to my knowledge, this fragrance has been reformulated at least 4 times. And what's available today is nothing like this one. If you can find it up until about 2015, you're okay. Anything past 2015, it's gonna be a little tough because you're gonna get the basis of what the scent was about. But if you can find something that's earlier from 2007 up until about 2015, you're gonna absolutely fall in love with it because the cocoa was replaced by pear, which was still sweet, it was still nice, but not as resinous, not as inspiring as the original form of Dior Homme Intense. This is a masterpiece, another one. François de Manchy, if I'm not mistaken, was a perfumer here. And this is a gorgeous scent. It's one of my wife's favorite on me. It's very cozy, it's very inviting, but it's also very sensual, very seductive, very romantic. It's one of those scents, if you want something special for those, memorable occasions, this is one that you should definitely seek for to put in your collection. If you can find it, like I said, up in 2015. The newer formulation, if you don't know this, you'll be okay. But if you know the original forms, you're gonna be like, man, what the hell did I do to this fragrance? Amazing. Before we continue with the list, you guys need to know that even the vintage stuff, the rare stuff that I'm sharing with you here today, you can try at perfume.com. Enjoy Max 12. We have different codes all throughout the months. Guys, check out the descriptions of the videos because I share a lot of information that's great to you, that's a fragrance lover that wants to try stuff before you actually buy a full bottle. So you can get decants of any size, live with the fragrance, make sure you love it before you commit to a full bottle. Check out details and enjoy it. Speaking of amazing jams, incredible, trendsetter, groundbreaking, this fragrance I smelled at a duty-free shop coming from Puerto Rico. So this fragrance here at the duty shop, the lady was like, this is a new release. You want to try this. I think you're going to like it. She was like, what kind of fragrances you wear? She's like, I think you're going to like it. This is going to be right up your alley. And this is going to be Narciso Rodriguez for him. Now, what I love about this fragrance, this is going to be a violet, musk, and patchouli, predominant scent, which is going to give you a very unique wet cement, earthy, not smoky, but earthy and wet cement-like vibe. When the sun hits the pavement and you get that, rain, and then you get the air that comes up and then that vapor that smells exactly like this, but in a good way. It's actually a little bit sweet, but also a little bit smoky, but mostly earthy and like that wet patchouli leafy that I'm talking about. Very unique, exquisite fragrance. Just rainy days, early spring and early fall is where this fragrance shines the most to me, on my skin. I love this stuff. It's very unique, very groundbreaking, very trendsetter. If you haven't tried this fragrance, it's not going to be for everyone because, like I said, that wet cement, wet patchouli kind of a feel that you get here, a lot of people won't like, especially a younger crowd. But if you have a seasoned nose, trust me, this is a winner. And by the way, the nose, the perfumer that made this beautiful masterpiece is none other than Francis Kurkdjian. Now we're talking about Tom Ford's private blend. As I prefaced you guys earlier in the video, I said he single-handedly really shaped up pretty much this decade, which had incredible fragrances, especially when it came to this private blend released in 2007. Granted, the ones that I really loved, I'm not even going to put in this list because they were just not for everyone. We're talking Moss Brash, we're talking Purple Patchouli, we're talking Italian Cypress, I think was later 2010 that was released. But I think these two were really the ones that broke the mold for the private blend and Tom Ford after Black Orchid that we talked about earlier in the video. Oud Wood from 2007 was a scent that was an absolute stunner of an oud fragrance. Unlike the 2002 fragrance M7 from Yves Saint Laurent that he put out and was really ahead of its time because it was quite daring, mysterious, and pushing the boundaries quite too much for early 2000s. 2006 gave us an oud fragrance that was actually very easy to wear. We're talking cardamom, rosewood, some floral aspects in here. It's a very gender-free, if you will, very unisex kind of an oud, even an oud that you can actually blend or layer with other fragrances, which the private brand actually asks you to do, says to layer their fragrances to discover and find even better creations. But oud wood in of itself is an incredible oud fragrance that I highly recommend if you're getting into oud. You want something that's very wearable and very captivating. This is definitely that kind of a fragrance. By the way, just so you know, the creator of this particular fragrance here is none other than Richard Herbin, which is French perfumer that has his own fragrance line called Precious Liquid, which we did share with you guys at Scent Explore for I think 2 years in a row. Definitely a brand that you guys should check out. If you like this, you're gonna love the brand. Now, in my humble opinion, this was the one that really gave Tom Ford Private Blend the status it has today. This fragrance is a supple, a spectacular tobacco scent. By now you should know I'm talking about tobacco vanille, but it's not a tobacco that's hard to wear. It's quite the contrary. It's going to be a tobacco that's very succulent, delicious is what comes to mind. I mean, he broke the damn mold when he put this out. There was nothing like this fragrance up to that point. Like I said, I'm in New York, so as I was walking around places like Times Square, Wall Street, a lot of people were rocking this fragrance, especially the ladies, but some guys. But because it's sweet, it's got that vanilla, dried fruits, tons of spices. I think ladies will like this more, but I have to tell you, this is an incredible fragrance for a confident gentleman. I wear this a lot. I mean, it's almost time for anybody. If you could see the level, it's really low. I wore a lot of this fragrance over the years. Unfortunately, it has been heavily reformulated. I don't know if I would pick this up. At this point, you have other fragrances that have this DNA that I would highly recommend, like Phaidon's Tobacco Rouge, I think it's called. There's a lot of fragrances that has this DNA that will do much better. Maybe the new Amouage Royal Tobacco that I have yet to experience, but I hear tremendous things about it. But this one here broke the mold when it did come out because there was absolutely nothing like this, which is almost boozy, succulent tobacco and vanilla that's very gourmand and just so, attention grabbing. And like you walk into a room and you're smelling like this, everyone's gonna stop in their tracks like, wow, who smells this good? That's tobacco vanille. This next one really put the house of Prada on the map when it comes to fragrances. I think this is the one that opened the gates for a lot of greats that Prada released over the years. 2008, Prada Infusion D'Homme. Now, this is going to be a blast of citruses up top, but what's interesting here is the iris that's infused in this fragrance, which is unlike the iris from Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense. It's going to be a very clean, crisp, floral kind of iris, as opposed to the creamy, buttery iris that you get with the Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense that we talked about before. 2008 Prada Infusion D'Homme gave us a very soapy, clean, floral, sharp. This has been discontinued, but the great thing about it, you can still find this, and I found a few bottles at FragranceBuy.ca, so you can still find this out there. Get it if you can. If you love clean, scents that has a floral aspect to it, the iris here is done to perfection. We all know that when it comes to Prada, I think their wheelhouse, if you will, in the house of fragrances is going to be something elegant, classy, sophisticated, and also very clean, very crisp. That's what you get. Think of a white, crisp iron shirt. That's the kind of smell that I get here. It's just one of those fragrances that you can wear in the office, day wear, really anytime, anywhere. This is a very versatile scent, but it's going to convey a very clean and well put together vibe about yourself. Prada Infusion D'Homme, just a stellar release. Now, this next one, 2008, ladies and gentlemen, the perfumer here, Olivier Poge, the in-house perfumer of Chanel, was commissioned to do this fragrance, and by gosh, did he do a phenomenal scent. And the person that was really being utilized for commercials and utilized for marketing was none other than Matthew McConaughey. All right. Dolce Gabbana The One. Now, this is going to be a tobacco-based scent. Again, tobacco, vetiver, lavender are the most predominant notes here. Cardamom, spices, a little bit of resins. This fragrance, I can't tell you enough. From the time I started wearing this fragrance, and I'm glad that this is an older bottle, I believe this is from 2010. From the time I started wearing this fragrance up until now, it's one of my most complimented fragrances of all time. If you do enjoy compliments, there's going to be others here that will be great for compliments. Definitely seek this one. If you don't like compliments, it doesn't matter. You'll still get them because it is a great tobacco scent that is spicy, a little bit resinous, but just it leaves a scent trail, a scent bubble that's just amazing. It'll get people loving to be around you. It's very cozy, it's very cocooning, very seductive, great for first dates. If you have a date, whatever you into, guys, gals, doesn't matter, they will love the way you smell. Dolce Gabbana The One is one of the greats and it had to be here. Now, the next scent on this list, ladies and gentlemen, has a very special place in my heart, and you're gonna find out why. This fragrance, 2008 release. A couple perfumers were involved in this project, and the crazy thing about this is that, of course, it was originally released in Europe, and it was hard to get it here in America, and I remember people paying quite a bit of price to get this over to America. And I first got to smell this in 2009, even though this was released in 2008, and I remember my friends just being in love with it. It's like, you gotta get me a bottle. Can I get a bottle? Please get me a bottle. I don't care how much, I want it. And you're gonna know why if you heard about this fragrance, and I'm sure you have. It's going to be 1 million from Paco Rabanne. You guys know Paco Rabanne pushes the envelope with really groundbreaking and different kind of scents that sometimes are a little bit too much. A lot of people talk about a bubblegum feel that they get with this fragrance. I am one of the lucky ones. It does not turn bubblegummy on my skin. The rose here, along with the leather and the cinnamon, the spices really shine on my skin. I smell incredibly well, so much so that I actually met my wife wearing this fragrance, and to this day, she loves when I wear this fragrance. I don't care, you call it juvenile, youthful, it doesn't matter. It is playful, and that's okay. If you want to be seductive, playful, romantic, this will deliver. Trust me. Powerful, long-lasting, sweet, resinous, just incredible. Look up the notes, and you're gonna know why this fragrance is so good. Like I said, it is sweet. It is sweet, but it's not sickly sweet. It's not, syrupy sweet. It's just the right amount, at least on my skin. It works wonders, gets me compliments. When I used to go dancing, which I don't do anymore, even guys would approach me and said, man, what are you wearing? Because back in the day, like I said, it wasn't as easy to find. Over the years, it became, second nature. Like you go out, people were rocking this fragrance, just like Dior Sauvage today. But it is, nevertheless, one of the greats. 2008 deserves a spot in one of the greatest iconic trendsetter groundbreaking fragrances of the 2000s. The next fragrance I'm about to share with you, also from 2008, the nose here, Alberto Morillas. We all know he has an incredible nose when it comes to likable fragrances, especially in the wheelhouse of citrus aromatics. And that's exactly what this is going to be, a citrus aromatic that is just perfection. Versace Pour Homme, 2008. We got the 200 ml bottle here, older formulation. I believe this was from 2012, even though this was a 2008 delivery. But I'm telling you guys, this is going to be, if you like Acqua di Gio, but you wanted something a little fruitier, a little sharper, and a little woodier in the base, this is what this is. It's going to be a semi-aquatic fragrance, but really a citrus aromatic. We've got lavender here, we've got vetiver, we've got some spices, but most importantly, we have a great melange of citrus fruits up top that will grab you at hello. If you smell this, you're gonna love it. It's compared to Chanel Allure Homme, very similar, but I do favor this a little bit more because, like I said, the fruits here are a little sharper. When you look at the Chanel, it's got more of a tonka base, so it gets a little creamier, a little bit sweeter. This has the right amount of sweetness with the citrus notes. It's just a stunner of a fragrance. My wife really knows this fragrance because it's one of the grab and go, easy to wear that I wear for many years, and I still do because it does the job right. If you want something to just smell good and feel refreshed, energized, Versace Pour Homme will definitely deliver. Now, 2008 also gave us an incredible fragrance, and of course, we can't leave a top best of a certain decade without mentioning Chanel. And I got one here for you, Chanel Allure Homme Edition Blanche. This is my first pick for this summer of my top designers to wear this season, and this is one that I'm wearing a lot. And originally in 2008, we had the Eau de Toilette Concentrée, which is the best version of this fragrance. And then in 2014, it was reformulated and re-released as an Eau de Parfum, which is still good, but not as good. Now, what this fragrance reminds me of, and if you haven't tried this yet, think of meringue pie, like key lime pie, lemon meringue pie. That's what you're gonna get here, exactly to the T. There's a nice bourbon vanilla here in the base, some tonka beans. It's sweet. It's not quite gourmand, but it's sweet and it's very sensual, refreshing as well. It's one of those one-of-a-kind citrus scents that it's citrus, refreshing, creamy, and very alluring. Edition Blanche, guys, a stunner. Check this out if you haven't. I know you're gonna love it. It's one of my favorites of all time. Before I reveal the last two fragrances on this list, I hope you guys are enjoying these picks. I want to talk to you guys about an event that comes up every year. This is the 4th annual, which is an international niche perfume event happening in New York City, December 2nd and 3rd, Friday and Saturday. Check out details below. Go to scentexplore.com. Check out the exhibitors, check out the program, learn about this event. If you're a true fragrance lover and you love niche fragrances, even though this is a designer list, this is a place that I highly recommend you guys check out because it brings us together. It's all about exploring, discovering, sharing, and connecting. Again, check out details. I'll come out here periodically throughout the months to share more things and news with you about the event. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram for details and news all the time. And trust me, guys, if you've been a part of the first 2019 or the second or third that we did virtually, you know what the event is all about. I truly hope to see you in person or at the virtual platform. Details below. Now we jump to 2009. Now this fragrance, ladies and gentlemen, I remember when it was first released, it was a limited edition, which I didn't really want to grab. I think, whatever, it's going to be money grabs, and I didn't care for it. Little did I know that a few months later, it was really limited edition. You couldn't find it anywhere. And I remember on eBay, on the Facebook groups, these were going for $300 plus for used bottles. That's how crazy people love this fragrance. And this is one of those fragrances that to this day, if you like whiskey, boozy notes, I have to be honest, I think this is the one that really started this whole fad of boozy scents. We're talking about Terre Mugler, or now just known as Mugler, Pure Malt. And sadly enough, this whole line has kind of been axed. I believe the brand is now owned by L'Oreal, if I'm not mistaken. And they're like rebranding, restructuring. The whole Pure collection has been put to a halt, which is a shame. This was a great line that every couple of years we had a new release. Pure Wood, Pure Tonka. We always waited for one of those because they were all just great. This is Pure Malt 2009. There was Pure Creation in 2013, which added more dried fruits. This year it's all about the booze, the malty kind of whiskey, note that it gives you. It's just incredible. You have this beautiful patchouli that just, surrounds the composition. You have that original Amen vibe here with the tar note, the cocoa patchouli. But what's special about this fragrance is that malt whiskey note that surrounds the composition, warm things up, and really gives this amplitude along with the cocoa patchouli and the dried fruits. It is a stunner of a fragrance. Don't recommend you guys wearing this in the hot heat because you're gonna get a headache and you're gonna get people around you a little nauseating because it is very heavy and very spicy. But for fall and winter, this is perfection. That's all there is to it. Now, we're ending this decade with a fragrance that, in my opinion, it's definitely, if you do a video with the top 10 most hyped and talked about fragrances in the fragrance community on YouTube or social media, this will have to come up. And we're talking about, from the house of Yves Saint Laurent, none other than La Nuit de L'Homme. You guys, I'm sure, heard about this fragrance. You also love it like myself. Now, YSL has had tremendous amount of flankers over the years, but this is really the one that takes the cake. We're talking gorgeous, spicy cardamom up top, lavender in the middle, along with some other spices, and of course the beautiful vetiver and tonka in the base. It is intrinsic, inspiring, alluring, sensual, romantic, you name it, it checks all the marks. This, what I have here, is actually a 2011 formulation of this fragrance. I do have one vintage bottle from the original year, and I know they're fetching a pretty penny. There are other options because this was a very copy DNA as well, and if you look hard enough, you'll be able to find a decent, formulation of this fragrance. What's available today, it's very fleeting. It's gonna give you 4 to 5 hours. If you find an older bottle, it's gonna last the whole day. If you spray your clothes, it's gonna be on your shirt. Needless to say, it's a stunner of a fragrance. La Nuit de L'Homme, a marked period of that decade for a reason, because it's just one of those fragrances that if you smell it, you gotta have it. And that concludes the most iconic, most wanted list that you guys wanted me to share with you post 2000s. If you want to see 2010s, if you want to see niche lists of these most iconic, trendsetting, groundbreaking fragrances, you know what to do. Leave it on the like. If these videos hit 1,000 or more likes, I will know that you guys want those lists, and I'll definitely put them together for you guys. As always, remember, choose your fragrances wisely, because fragrance is emotion in motion. I will see you right back here very soon. Take care.